Welcome back to 5 Minutes Till Done. I'm your host, Alex Roberts, and today we'll be going over tips, tricks, and techniques to help you shoot better footage. Now, the first thing we'll be going over is your camera settings. We want to start with format because that's what we'll be shooting in. Most people shoot in JPEG, fine. We're better off shooting in RAW for post-production. And the next setting you'd want to do is your picture profile. So if you're shooting in RAW, you'd be able to control it more in post as far as color grading, effects, everything. But RAW does take up more memory space, so you are going to need a bigger SD card. Next are your frames per second. To get a more cinematic look, you want to shoot in 24 frames per second and double the shutter speed to about 50. That's for more cinematic looks that we use. As far as slow motion, we use 60 frames per second, double it to 120, 240. That's for more B-roll shots and stuff, like dramatic shots, slow motion shots. But if you're just shooting and talking, you want to shoot at 24 frames per second because that's the most natural look you're going to get out of it. Now, when you have your shutter speed at a set spot, it's really hard to adjust the brightness and exposure that you're getting on your camera. So that's where your ISO would come in. You put it at 100, the lowest you can. If it's too overexposed, you're going to need one of these. These are ND filters, pretty much sunglasses for your lens. This one's a variable density ND filter. It's made by Hoya. It's pretty good glass. You want to get a good one because if you don't, they'll start to vintage around the edges when you put them too dark. So just make sure you get quality glass there. Next, we'll be going into your camera settings on how you shoot more stable shots. So when you shoot in slow motion, 60 frames per second or higher, your shots will be more stable. You won't get a lot of camera shake. You can also go into post-production with this in like Premiere Pro and put in your warp stabilizer, which will stabilize your shot too. Next, we'll be going over some basic camera movements that everybody should know, especially if you're a filmmaker. So the first one is the dolly here. This right here is moving the camera through space forward and backwards. So dolly in, dolly out. The next would be a pan. This is what most people use. Everybody says pan for everything, pan up and down. That's how people can tell, you don't really know what you're talking about sometimes. But panning is just, you can pan left and right pretty much. So up here, that way, this way, that way. Next we have tilt, which is your up and down. So it's pretty much panning up and down, but they call it tilt. Next is truck, which is your camera's moving through space again, just like dolly, but instead of forward and backwards, we're moving to the sides. The last one is a boom or jib, which is moving the camera through space again, up and down. So those are your basic camera movements that most people should know. And as far as stabilizing your camera shots, when you come out here, you want to grip the camera, get a firm grip on one side and the other, just so you have, no shake really. You want to bring your camera in close to your body, elbows in, and that way, there's no camera shake really. You're using your body as like a platform. I have a Joby tripod on here, Gorilla. You could just use it on your body, push like that. Many people have camera straps. You can put the camera strap around your neck, hook it up to these little pieces right here, extend it all the way out to get like a tight pull on it, bring your arms in. That will also stabilize your shot. And when you do your camera movements, you don't want to take lots of steps because then you see the stepping and everything. You want to set your feet to where you're going to be and start where your shot's going to start at. And you want to use your knees and your hips and your torso pretty much to do everything. So it's a smooth pull out, And then another way, if you don't have a gimbal and you have one of these, is you could just open these up right here, hold this from the top, and then you have a little balanced gimbal right here. And you can just kind of, follow people through. All you got to do, though, whenever you do this, is when you're in post, you just flip the image upside down. And you can have like a little homemade gimbal right here. So, let me see. Another big thing with a lot of people when they're shooting their films, whether this is for YouTube, movies, is your audio. Audio is very important. It is just as important as your visuals. Nobody's going to want to watch a 5-minute video of you hearing wind. So you're going to want to get a dead cat for that or just completely take the audio out. but audio is a very big deal. So that's all I have for you today. Join us next week for when we make a mold out of gelatin using your old pumpkins from Halloween. Yum.